question for both of you as well. I'll start with John, if that's all right. Last week, Senator Hutchison said she was going to file a bill to extend the life of the shuttle until a commercial alternative or a NASA alternative was available to take astronauts to orbit. Given the status of the shuttle's parts and supply chains and the workforce, I just wondered what kind of posture you would be in if they came to you sometime this summer and said, we don't want you to stop flying in September. We want you to continue flying for several more years.
We have been doing shuttle extension studies since I took over this job, and we continually update that information. There's a big misconception out there, I think, and that's on the shuttle supply chain, and that they're all out of business because we're ending the program, and to get them back would be this enormous effort. It is not like there are small companies or small businesses out there that made shuttle widget number 5, and now that we're not flying the shuttle anymore, they're out of business and they've gone on to retirement in Florida, and we'll never hear from them again. For the most part, our suppliers and vendors are major companies in the aerospace field, maybe in all kinds of other fields. Take, for example, the orange foam that is robotically sprayed on the external tanks. That is produced by a company called North Carolina Foam Industries. They're a huge player in commercial and retail insulation. They do medical things. The shuttle program is a very small part of their business. And because the shuttle is going out of business does not mean that those companies are gone. And we kicked off last week when we were asked again about shuttle extension, a study for each of the program elements to go out and physically touch base with each of the vendors and the sub-vendors and the entire supply chain, and understand where we might have some issues if we were to restart the program. I get those results on Thursday, and we'll formally write that up and submit it to headquarters. But there's this misconception that there's all this big supply chain that was shuttle specific only. Shuttle is for the most part a sideline business for these major companies that support the actual program. So we will assemble that and send that forward. The other piece that has been of interest is the recertification issues with the orbiter. The Columbia Accident Investigation Board recommended if we flew past 2010 that we do a recertification of the orbiter vehicles. That has been ongoing since 2005, and we did a very comprehensive assessment, first of all, of our what we call CRIP 1 parts, things that if they fail they could cause a loss of the crew or vehicle, to make sure that when we're doing our testing on the ground or our environment in flight is encompassed by the original certification of that part. And in some areas we found out that we had some deficiencies where we thought that the way we were operating on the ground or in flight was within that certification, but we did not have test data to show that that was true. So we went off and ran a lot of tests, or we put additional inspections in. And we have since expanded that not just from the CRIP 1 hardware, but now to the CRIP, what we call 1 requires 2 failure things, where if the first one fails, you can still accomplish your mission, but if the second one fails, you could lose the vehicle. So we expanded the certification review to those parts. Now we're doing the CRIT 1 R3, the things that require 3 failures to do. We've also done the CRIT 2 stuff, things where you lose a piece of the mission, but you don't lose the vehicle or crew. And CRIT 3, things like cameras and bags. And so we've pretty much over the last 5 years gone through the entire orbiter vehicle to make sure that we're operating within the environment that the different orbiter pieces were originally certified for. So we feel like we've addressed recertification. We did not stop there. We continued and had meetings with aging vehicle experts to understand from an aviation standpoint what types of things do they typically find, what types of things do they look at. We benchmarked things like the B-52 bomber, things that have been flying for greater than 50 years. And as a result of those meetings with those aging vehicle experts, we added 23 additional inspection points into each of the orbiters that we hit every time we turn the vehicle around. So we've addressed the orbiter recertification issues. We are addressing the supply line issues. I don't expect to find any problems there. The real issue we would have would be just in manufacturing. While you have a supply chain, while you can get a workforce back to go and build things like external tanks, there would be some type of a gap. And right now we estimate that that gap would be about 2 years from when we're told to when we would have the first external tank rolling off the assembly line. And you could address that through many different ways, by slowing down the shuttle program until that 2 years was up, or you just accept that gap and do other things. I think the real issue that the agency and the nation has to address is the expense. The shuttle program is fairly expensive. We burn at about a $200 million a month rate. And so that gives you a base of about $2.4 billion per year that it would require to continue flying the shuttle, almost irregardless of how many flights you flew during the year. I'm flying 5 flights this year at about that much money. If I flew 2 flights, it might be a little bit less, but not a significant amount less. There's just a base cost there that you have to pay to keep the program in business. And where that money comes from is the big question. So that's what we're working on.
So if I understand that correctly, you have largely gone through the 2010 certification issue, and you're in a reasonably flexible posture to address these requests if they come up?
Yes. Now, part of the bill that I read, and we've had discussions with outside independent teams, is whether what the John Shannon view of recertification meets the Admiral Gaiman view of recertification. And I think it does. We're ready to have that discussion if required. And press on. I'm extremely proud of the team that has done this recertification effort. They've looked at it very closely, and I think they've made the right decisions to make sure that we make sure that we're flying as safely as we possibly can be. And all of that attention to detail and making sure that we're operating on the ground and on orbit within your certification, I think that just leads into some of the reason why we've had the success we've had over the last 2 years with very few anomalies and very few problems with the vehicles.